activate.
Welcome to another special episode for the season 12 of Next Gen. This one being the touring cars and Clio review from the Monday night touring car package. So, after the touring cars, you run the Monday night Tours Clios. And which, for anyone that doesn't know, obviously there is another Clio League at Next Gen at the moment, sponsored by Max Coates on Saturdays. And I'll let Lee introduce the Clios in a more detailed fashion, because I quite like the backstory to why this was created.
Yes, well, again, it was from my own self that I sort of wanted to bring the Clios back to where I could race them, because as very successful as the Max Coates sponsored Clio Cup competition on Saturday night is, I'm just not available. And I used to race the Clios a lot in Polycars 1. Love the closeness.
It was where our rivalry started as well.
And it's where me and Jack decided to enjoy trading paint on many occasions. So I thought, instead of, as I started off for the first couple of seasons, with having 2 race TCC championship, I thought I'd drop one of them and then introduce the Clios as a second discipline afterwards. And this first season 12, where I've introduced this, it seems to have gone down very well. And I personally, and I'm sure others may well agree, but I find because we're doing the same track, but just the moving from the Taurus to the Clios, it's quite an easy transition. It's funny because the Clios are, to the Megane anyway, from my perspective, very similar, in relation to the gearing that you need to take on corners and things, despite their slight difference in speeds. The gears are similar, so you don't have to go out and practice both sets. You can, as long as you turn a few laps, you're good to jump in the Clio and be reasonably high up the grid, top half, and if you're lucky, if you on a good day, you can actually be a bit further up. So yeah, the Clios, I just wanted to be able to race them again, so I thought, let's drop the 2 and bring in the 1 Clio and mix it up a bit, and it seems to work very well.
No, definitely. I mean, and this actually the first Project Cars 2 Next Gen League I actually competed in for season 12, because obviously as the night goes on, family house commentary becomes very hard to do, because obviously all the exciting moments, you can't wake up all your family. So I ended up competing in this, and funny enough, I was on the controller. And yeah, I completely agree with what you say. It's gone down really well, and it's a fantastic car to drive, regardless of the method. Obviously, same calendar as the touring cars. But for this season, are there any key moments? I mean, after 6 rounds, Omega was leading this championship as well, followed by Jamie by only 6 points, and obviously yourself, again, not a brilliant start, but it was still very, very tight. I mean, I think I'm looking at this, and the top 10, just the top 10 was covered by 63 points, which, although sounds a lot, really isn't.
No, it was pretty close. I'd unfortunately, due to holidays, missed a round as well. And at the beginning of the season, again, it was the same for me. I was refining my form and everything else. But like you say, the top 10, I think sadly Edo had to drop out as well, and you were obviously on your way up. So looking at that mid-table positioning, it was, like you say, despite the reasonable points difference, it was actually that close, and then that's how close it was on the circuit. It was crazy close. All the clear races they're just madness, but such fun. And yeah, it was good. It was good to see that it was shaping up to what was going to be a good finish at the halfway point.
I mean, Jack, were there any memorable moments for you on that first half of the season?
A lot of awful luck. Continuing on from the Astra more than anything in that first half of the season. I got pole at Imola, and then me and Lee traded some paint, which is still to this day a confusing accident, but I ended up in the trays It was no fault of Lee's, it's just something that happened. Uh, it's always close. It's just I just seem to bear a lot of the bad luck in the Clios last season, especially the first half of the season. It's horrible. Like, but it was always close. It was always fun, and I didn't actually expect to enjoy it that much. I signed up because me and Lee obviously are the co-creators of the Monday Night Tours, and not because it's out of courtesy and Lee's a good pal, but I actually really enjoyed it. I thought they are a pain in the really good fun back. I mean, I always have fun no matter what league I race, but there's something playful about the Clio. I don't quite know what sure it is. So it was just the closeness, the racing for me that first half of the season. Despite the accidents, I was always having a battle with someone.
Now, obviously, I compete in this, so I've got my own key moment for the first half, and for me, it was Imola. And there's one big reason for that, and I suspect Ginge can probably work this out. It was my first ever top 10. I came into, I'm going completely honest here, I came into Season 12 Clios knowing I was on the controller, and I knew it was going to be tough. Because let's be honest, a controller nowadays, on most games, always has that disadvantage. And my aim by the end of Season 12 was just to get a top 10 finish and potentially be battling near the top 10 points. And I went to Imola, and I remember because I got tapped around by Edu, and completely by accident it was, we all sorted out. But I had so much pace, I almost caught and passed Shockshaft in 9th. But just to get a top 10 after 4 races, for me, was quite a key moment in that first half of the season.
That's a bit of advice, Byron. Because as Lee will know, I've raced on a controller for a long time, and getting those little milestones are really, really key to developing on a controller, especially with a new game. Because Project Cars 2 controller compared to Project Cars 1 is a lot more different. I mean, as I alluded to earlier, the first ever league race was in NXTGEN. It was this one who's in the lobby with us, and I managed to nick it from him. But it's about getting that consistency. I only won one race after that that season, and it comes from close battles with other drivers, and it's very, very difficult. So sometimes I know a lot of people. I mean, I had the same issue as you, Jordan, in the GT3s for the first few seasons. Getting those top 10s, those top 6s are crucial to learning how the car develops on a controller during the race and how you develop during the race, because I find it easier to concentrate on a controller than I would on a wheel. But the weird thing is that it's easier to make a mistake. Like once, like Twitch, you're in the trees, you're in the sand, or you're in Maggie's junk. It's one of the three, and you've got to be careful of that, because if you crash, especially on a controller, there's blind luck dictates where you're going to end up. And to get the amount of top 10s and the result that you got this season, John, is a really, really good starting position to have, especially at the end with Ruapuna, because me and you were separated by very little.
But we'll talk about that probably a bit later, as we get through the second half. I mean, Lee, was there any stand-up performances from you? Because obviously, because it isn't streamed and commentated by myself, we don't really see a lot of the action most of the time.
No, and I like to try and upload stuff, but I'm so far behind. I've still got season 10 stuff to upload, and thankfully I've got a big hard drive. But it's struggling without me going back and having a look. There's nothing. There probably are some moments, but I generally can't think of them. But the biggest thing I do remember is that I just always loved the Clios,
Mm.
just because of if you weren't having a battle with someone, for first, you're having a battle with someone for eighth, or you're having a battle with someone for 12th, or there was five of you battling for seventh. They're just so much fun at any point in the field. It's rare, extremely rare, that you're left on your own anywhere with the Clios because of the slipstreaming in groups or the battling effect and everything else. There's probably loads of standout moments, just as in having that heart racing, sweaty excitement of just having a battle with someone and trading positions lap after lap, corner after corner.
Mm.
They're just brilliant fun. I couldn't recommend them enough for anyone that likes their sim racing, for anyone that races, whether it's on a controller or with a wheel. For a car to give you that much, that much enjoyment is brilliant.
No, definitely, and obviously into the second half of the season, we end up with our champion being Jamie F430. I mean, he actually ended up taking it, was it a round before? But it was still, those extra rounds were still very, very competitive.
Yeah, Jamie wanted to continue his streak right through to the end, and to be fair to him, he was pretty much untouchable when the Clios. He was so good. That you could battle. He was so consistent with his battling as well. It wasn't a surprise, to be fair, with his initial performances in the first half of the season and the consistency he was carrying on finishing on the podium, that he won it with around the 2 spare.
Now, obviously, I've got two key moments for me in the second half of the season. Jack, I'll come to you, because obviously probably just the enjoyment of the Clios is enough, really, for you. But Jack, anything obviously that stands out, a key moment for you in the second half?
Winning at Donington Park and then having the victories. I'm not bitter, I promise. No, my key moment is one that you're going to mention, Jordan. So I'm not gonna steal your thunder on that one. But no, it's I'd say the battle with Jamie at Alton Park with me and him was really, really good fun. And Laguna safe coming back through the field was quite nice, thanks to stuff that was going on at the front. It was really nice to. I can only really say from my point of view because obviously I do reviews for the. I don't know how I did it. Because not very nice. That was the standout for personally, apart from Jamie being phenomenal, I think. And anyone else who really walked away with it. So yeah, I'd say that. I'd say the season itself is the standout, aside from the moment that you're going to mention, obviously.
Well, I've got two. I've got two. Now, the first one I'm going to mention is Laguna Seca, because as I was quite happily going, yes, I've done this after the race. The overtake for me was a massive highlight. I mean, I ended up going through the corkscrew in fourth, and coming out after the long left-hander in first. This was like, oh my god, I'm actually leading a race, and I led about 2-3 laps of the race, and for me, that was like, that's amazing. And unfortunately, it came to a bit of a head when we unfortunately tried to go 3 wide, battling for second, going into the left-hander before the corkscrew. That was a bit of a shame, but it was good fun for me. It was brilliant, and obviously, because I'm not the fastest, helped you, Jack, back into the race.
Yep, definitely, 100%. If it hadn't been for you, I'd have been finished like 8th. So I appreciate that, Joe.
But my biggest one is Ruapuna. Getting a top 6 for me was fantastic, and the fact that I ended up battling not only yourself, Jack, but also RS Jim, Shockshaft. I had so many different battles, and as we all know, in the Clios, me and Shockshaft have become rivals. Constantly trading places. But yeah, I mean, it was brilliant to actually be up at the front for those 2 races and battling with what I would consider to be the top guys of the Clios. And if it wasn't for you, Jack, I'd have had my... Well, actually, say if it weren't for you, if it weren't for Jim, in all fairness, because I couldn't quite hold off Jim for 5th. But obviously I couldn't quite pass you for my first top 5, which it's kind of given me a bit of a boost going to season 13, going, now I'm after a top 5. I know I can do it. Just got to do it.
I'm just trying to think. The last person to get a podium across the Monday Night Tours probably would have been James Burns, season 11, in the Renaults and the touring cars. Before that, it was me. So yeah, that was the last time a person on controller got top 5. I don't think there's. I think right at this moment, in terms of full-time controller users, your best man would be James Burns, and then I think in terms of full-time controller users, I think Jordan is probably the next best. There are others, but they're not racing full.
I mean, well, and the other thing, from my point of view, is I'm not like a normal pad user. I mean, because for example, yourself and probably James Burns, you tend to use the L sticks for your steering, and
Yeah.
whereas I'm
Whereas you use.
directional pad man.
Can I just say, this is the maddest. Like, I used to race D-pad like you years ago. I did, and that's how I learned how to use the controller, to use that depth touch that you need when you use the controller. How you still do it on the D-pad is phenomenal. I do 100% believe you'd be quicker using the analog, but whether you're comfortable with.
That is the only thing for me. I mean, I have used it in the past, but I find it very difficult to have. I feel like I've got more of a deft touch with the D-pad than I do with the analog. It's a really weird thing.
I'm sorry, can I just... You race with the D-pad, not the stick?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I race. I race L2 I use L2 R2 for accelerated brake, and directional pad for my steering.
I'm bowing right now. I'm bowing. All right.
This is how impressed I am, Lee, with this guy using a D-pad.
Yeah, that is just some crazy stuff there.
You could swear and it'd be totally understandable.
Wow. Hats off to you, man. That's I mean, I thought Jack had some skills with winning. What was it? Race of Winners, another. No, you won the wheel, didn't you? When using the pad, but using the sticks. But I generally didn't realise, Jordan, that you're pushing a button, man, rather than even moving a stick. That's very impressive.
It's a bit more than that, but it is very difficult.
I know. Yes, of course.
No.
I want to give Jordan as much praise as possible.
Now that I've completely made the host of the Clio speechless,
I think what you're gonna have to do, Jordan, is do what I did in the Race of Winners: win the championship on the D-pad. I did it with the analog stick. You do it with the D-pad, and we can be champs.
All right, don't rub it in, Jack. I should throw it away, to be fair, at Bathurst. Anyway, that's another subject for another time.
So finally, then, for this review, let's have a bit of a general review from Lee, since he runs it. General review of the Clios to wrap up this review session.
Yeah, to be fair, I feel like I'm going to repeat myself a little bit, because I was a bit wrapped up in my own season and I didn't really review anything. Because Jack's done some stats, he might be better placed just to give a final review than me bore everyone with the same thing that I've already said.
Well, in that case,
over to the stat man.
Yeah, the last time we ran a free reign type of Clio Cup race, and I mean outside of the sponsorship, was back at season 4. That's how long we go back, and Lee has fond memories of those. And if you look at the quality of where we've come, not just as in the Clios, but as a league since then, we've come a long way. The drivers that we've had this season have been phenomenal. We've had 6 different race winners, I think 7 different race winners actually in the Clios this season. We have to stop Jamie because he's been on another scale this season. So Jamie will be definitely one to watch in terms of the review. Don't take him out, please. That's not what we want in the leagues. But he has been phenomenal. I think it'll be a lot more closer. I think with it being the final league, I think people are getting a little bit tired at that point, and momentary lapse in concentration are more likely to happen. So I think if people were a little bit more switched on, I think things could change. I think with Lee making a few changes for season 13, I won't say them because it's the review and not the preview, but I think with the changes that are coming up, it'll make people a little bit more sharper. I think the races will be a little bit more closer, because not that they could get much more closer, because they always are. I don't think there was a race at any point this season without at least 3 or 4 cars battling for the lead at one stage of the race. So I think this season has been a success, unqualified success. It was the right decision to do 3 championships in the Monday Night Tours rather than 2. And that come season 13, which is next week obviously, I think the Clios will be a wonderful, wonderful act on the billing of the Monday Night Tours once again.
Yes, well put, thank you.
There you go. But season 13 looms very soon, so we'll have a preview of season 13 coming up at some point, and it's going to be an interesting one. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining me on the review. It's been a pleasure as always.
No problem.
And yeah, we'll see you for the preview very, very soon.
Thanks, Jordan.
No worries. Thank you for listening to anyone that does. It's always nice to have.